Hello, everybody. You are in the Laban Bartenieff lab, and many other things may happen in here. I'm in a Zoom room with a couple of other people. We're just going to talk about this for 1 second because I've been doing so much space. Here's an icosahedron. Here's my doll, Madame Alexander doll, probably going to fall apart while I'm doing this. But yeah, as her hat falls off and her head is backwards on her body. Oh my goodness. I'm not sure if she's Sweden or Hungary, but yeah, I had a bunch of these dolls when I was a little kid. If we put her inside of here, this is such a bad idea, but I'm doing it anyway. Here she is, inside the icosahedron. Here's her high right. Okay, this is just a horribly bad idea. Let's go with a different doll. This is gonna work better. Another equally 70s doll, the troll, right? So here's my troll inside the icosahedron. There's high right, high left, low right, low left. Right, this is left forward middle, left back middle, right forward middle, right back middle. It may be different for you. Forward high, forward low, backward high, backward low. We want to imagine ourselves when we're working with space inside of something like this. This ratio of size may not be the smartest ratio of size, but anyway, this was just our weird beginning because we're actually not working with space today. We're going to work with effort, but maybe we'll work with how effort aligns with space. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about that and we'll move it with it. So effort is like the dynamic qualities of movement. So it's a German word, and I've said this to German people and they're like, it's such an old word, it doesn't really make any sense anymore, der Antrieb. And they're like, oh yeah, that doesn't really make sense. But what it means in Laban terms, the term effort means the way something is moving. Like it's like if you're driving your car, how are you driving your car? Like he drives very smoothly, or he drives very directly, or he drives very indirectly, like these different ways of how you could drive your car. But it's such a bad analogy. I shouldn't have used a car model, but I've heard that before. A better analogy is in your body. Like if I'm moving with lightness, there's a tendency for it to rise. It's light. Sometimes you can think like, and feel free just to move with me, like, because we are all going to have different relationships with these effort qualities. So effort, lightness, light effort. It could also be strong effort. And these are both aligned with weight. And it's not I weigh a lot, it's how much I weigh, it's weight effort. So lightweight, it has a tendency to rise, and strong weight, it has a tendency to go down. So it doesn't mean that it will always rise. Like I could go down with very lightweight and I could go up with strong weight. And it's not heavy and it's not limp. So light, those are like kind of uneffortful things, but we can think of something, effort is where we're going to see something that kind of pops out or something changes or shifts. So lightness, to me, as I reach my arms up and I feel into lightness, there's like this quality of sort of suspension of breath and airiness and wonder. So I'm teaching from a Laura Ward version. Of course, other people are going to teach this very differently, but we can talk about like, can I move my foot with lightness? Like maybe if you're just touching the tip of your toe into the water, that's not sure if it's going to be cold. Maybe you're going to be very careful, or you are going to like poke your little tiny kitten with your toe. You don't want to stomp them down. So you want to very lightly, gently touch. So just playing with that. And as we're playing with this lightness, see if that feels like, oh, I hate, like any of these efforts can be horrible. You can go, oh, I can't do it. So if you need to recover out of it at any time, feel free to shake it out or go into something different. Let's play with strength also. So like strength is like, you know, you've got this grounded, strong thing. I think we all know what strength is. Finding that in your whole body. How does the strength connect to you? And what does it feel like when that's showing up in your body? Yeah, right. And it may show up with other things. Like, so we've got our lightweight and then our strong weight. And I can talk with it, right? I can talk in this light voice. Hello, everybody. So nice to see you today. Or I can go in a very strong voice that's like, okay, I lower down. So we can think about how this expresses in so many different ways. But this is, when we're talking about effort, we're talking about the dynamic quality of the effort. Like kind of like the soup had some pepper in it, or the soup had some lime in it. It was a Mexican tortilla soup, that's why. But like, so we can think of we can think of these efforts as being like, yeah. So let's play with lightness in the kinesphere, or imagining you're in the icosahedron and like, where can I go to find the lightness? Like, is there some little fairy angel wings lightness around? Where is it? And now can I look in the same places and find some strength, like checking it out, like you could punch around for that strength. Can you feel the strength like from your pelvis out through your body? Like, can you, I don't know. I think immediately of like childhood images. Again, it's the toys, like Power Rangers, things like that. Like what kind of, I don't know, G.I. Joe, strong imagery. Those are horrible images. So please feel free to think of your own. Let's just shake that out for a second. So that is our weight effort. Lightness, tendency to rise, and strength, tendency to go down. And as you know, I'm connecting this to space because in the system of Laban movement analysis, space is really one of my favorite things. But it's also affined with effort. It means that the affinity, it is most likely found together, but not always. So the affinity of light weight is vertical, going up, and strong weight coming down. So the affinity of weight effort is the vertical dimension, just vertical, up, down. We have light weight going straight up and strong weight coming down. So we can play with that, like, rising with lightness, coming down with strength. And you guys can talk also, like you're both muted. So try rising in your voice, rising with lightness and coming down with strength. Just feeling if that changes it, rising with lightness and coming down with strength. And people, a lot of actors are like, why would Laban be good for me? Because you learn to use your body in space and you learn to rise with lightness and come down with strength. Or for regular human beings, it gives us a chance to be different than we are, right? So whenever we're playing with, like, for me at first, I had a hard time connecting to my lightness and my strength. And now, like you can see, I'm very strong. It's very easy for me to be strong. Sometimes it's harder for me to be light. Sometimes I have a hard time being that soft and gentle, right? So we've got the sideness going around on our screen. Let's just do that. We did all that vertical, the natural response. Your body is going for this natural recuperation in the side. Like, I don't want to go up and down anymore. Now I want to go side. So this is called exertion and recuperation. We're exerting in one dimension and we're recuperating in another. And we may get tired of that and we want to go to another, so we could go forward and backward, right? So of course I'm bringing it back to space because space is my thing. But let's talk about what those things are. What are the affinities and what are the efforts in the side? So we can have, and these are both, this is going to be space effort. So space effort is different than geometric space. I think we say like big S and small s, but space effort is like direct space. It's pinpointed, it's focused, boom, it's right there. Or it's indirect space. I'm attending to the space, I'm coming in, and it's like global. I'm looking at every star in the sky. I'm taking the whole thing in. So there's like pinpointed, focused, boom, right there. Or it's all around, boom, right there, boom, over there. Or it's everywhere. So space effort is when we're attending to what's around us and we're connecting to the space around us in our awareness or attention. That can be seen, and we're either pinpointed or we're global. This can be very aligned with focus. Like, how do people focus? Like, am I focusing right in on one specific little area, or am I in this sort of global open awareness focus where my attention is everywhere? And one way I like to talk about this for direct space is, like, let's say I'm going to a cafe, I'm meeting my friend, I walk into the room, I'm looking around, where is my friend? Here I am, I'm in indirect space. You can see it in my movement. I'm looking around, boom, they're right there. I go to my friend, right? So that is direct space. So space effort is aligned with the horizontal dimension. And so when we cross our bodies, that is affined with direct space. And when we open out, it's affined with indirect space. So I'm connecting these two things together since you guys have both already worked with me in space a little bit. Well, most people are probably on my channel have seen some of my space stuff. So, because I could just come in and go like direct, direct, indirect, direct, direct, indirect, but we're going to keep the affinities with the space. I feel like we learn better when we have more in the package. Like if we're in our memory palace, we're adding these two things together. So when I'm crossing my body, boom, I'm looking at one thing. Boom. And then as I'm coming open, it's like, I'm checking out the whole space. So crossing over direct space and then checking out the whole thing, indirect space. Let's try it on the other side. Crossing it over, boom, looking right at one thing. And then, opening out into the world, serving the sandwiches to everybody. Where are they all? So boom, direct, opening, 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 indirect. So I do have friends that are like genius at effort, and I'm okay at it, but I don't think that I am a great effort person. A lot of times, like effort is like the deliciousness that's in movement. So if we look at dance and we see something where it's like, so specific and so like, there's that little suspension, right? I went into this lightness for a second and then light and indirect, checking it all out. It suddenly draws us in and becomes more interesting. Yeah. So let's play with, and direct could be open. I can direct and open, and I can also be indirect as I'm crossing. But it's just an affinity. It means it often goes with, but isn't necessarily, doesn't have to be. But this is just how the system overlays effort with space. And it actually makes a lot of sense once you start doing it. Like, oh yeah, that kind of feels right. How are you guys doing? Good? Yeah. So the other thing about it is like when we start to add to our repertoire of things, like I'm a very direct, quick, strong person. And when I'm like indirect and light, it feels really weird and unfamiliar. I'm like, oh yeah, like that's just so not right. It's not my natural thing. So when we start to add these extra possibilities of being, it can become uncomfortable. So we want to always just be able to shake it out, let it go, come back to whatever your stasis is. Yeah. The weird factor comes in when we're doing things that are not in our comfort zone, right? That's where the neuroplasticity really is. That's where the plasticity of being is, where we're like, this is a little awkward and uncomfortable. Can I find my way with that or back off for a little while? So let's go with the forward and backward, right? So what's a find? What is the effort quality of find with forward and backward? And I'll just tell you right away. It is time. And so time effort in Laban is not it's fast or it's slow. It's something is slowing down or something is speeding up. It's quick thing. So it's not where it's an even quick or an even slow. It's where either going slower, tendency to go forward slower, and then back quick. Yeah, or speeding up. So yeah. We have quick time and sustained time. Sustained time is where it's slowing down, and then quick time is where we're backing up. And what, yeah, exactly, nice. When we're thinking about that, here's one image that seems to work for me, is that like, imagine that you're in the dark and you're moving through this like cobwebby, attic-y, scary room. It's dark. So you're going to go forward very carefully and slowly. And then you come across something like, jump back quickly. There's the affinity. It might be that you actually run forward and you're like that you're a run forward, go back slow type person. Like I probably am that. I dive in quickly and then I try to extricate myself from the situation. So that's the affinity and disaffinity thing. Doesn't even matter. It's just how these things go with space, which is eventually going to add up to how we move in different ways in space. We put them all together. So much information. So imagine that while we're doing this, it doesn't matter if you take this all in. Just take in little tiny bite-sized pizzas, have some little bite-sized pizzas on hand. Don't have to eat the whole thing. But we can like take it in, let it percolate for a second. So let's just have a walk in our space and just be in your body for a minute and feel what you feel. Yeah, like if we had just come into a improvisation class, we'd come into our bodies, walking around, feeling our feet on the floor. maybe sensing the room. What's going on in the room? I got a little kitty sleeping up here. He's so cute. Oh, I'm not supposed to kiss him with lipstick on because then he gets little kiss marks on his white head. Maybe a little shaking. Also shaking, great to just release stuff, come back to a more neutral place. We could do this with different music, but since this is going to go on the tubes, I can't use music, otherwise it will get blocked. So, but we could imagine that we're using music. And like I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like some kind of percolating outer space music. We're finding lightness, we're finding indirectness. It's in this open place. What is there in the wonder? Boom! There, we can go quick and down. And so that should be a boom backwards. It doesn't matter if we have our affinities, but just to have some play with what these efforts are, like I can put them together, right? So I can have strong and quick, boo. I can have strong and quick together. I can have strong and sustained together. I can have light and sustained together. Like we can mix them all up. And often as generally people are moving through life, they're shifting through these efforts all the time. Things are happening. Some people are going to be some cultures are going to be very one way or another. Like in some cultures, a lot of the women are very light and indirect. In some cultures, it's inappropriate to look directly at other people, especially for other genders. So that could, And some cultures, the way they talk can be very hard and very strong and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of these effort qualities we could look at on a cultural level, like, or on a personal level, like what do people like? What lands in people? A little slow and direct, boom, coming in. And it is actually really fun to play with other people doing this, like, didn't know that was what that was, right? I'm glad you guys are liking that. Yes. Just playing around with it, letting yourself play. And as you're changing dynamic quality, things slowing down, things speeding up, things being specific, things being unspecific, all over the place. Or things being very light or very strong. So there's 4 main efforts. Like there's weight, there's time, there's space effort, but there's also effort elements. There's effort elements and effort factors, and each element has 2 factors, or that's the way I think it goes. The last one that we haven't talked about yet is flow. And so flow effort is like sort of unstoppable movement that's continuing. So, and there's 2 types of flow. There's bound flow, it's very contained and mature. And then there's free flow, which is very childlike and less easily stopped. We don't know where free flow is going to go. It's like much more all over the place. Whereas the bound flow, I could also do bound flow quickly. It's not that free flow has to, the speed thing doesn't have to be there. It could be free flow very slow. That's hard to do, but it could also be bound flow very quick. So bound flow is just much more mature. It's stoppable, it's contained, and it has the tension of control, not the tension of like rigid control, but the tension of stoppability, of control in the flow. And the free flow is much more like a little kid running around a playground, like, where am I going next? I don't know. Or the kittens, like, who knows what's going to happen next? But they are certainly in flow. Flow stops when we stop, right? So, and there could be somebody who's very like, jarring. That person doesn't have a lot of flow. So and then there's people that are like smooth as silk, and they are just like flow masters, like it's all flow. Right. And then we can have these fluctuations of the free flow, childlike stuff, and bound flow, much more contained and adult. Like, I think you could do like Tai Chi, and you could shift your flow to being back and forth between free and bound just by changing the tension in your body. So the bound flow has more tension, the free flow has less tension. Yeah. So that is a lot of information, right? I want to just come in with you guys, and since I'm Spotlight, you won't come on, but if you have any questions, ask.
Thanks, Laura. Always do, Laura. Always do, Laura. Great. Love you, Zazan. Okay, question is,
I agree.
yeah, he's so cute. I have such a crush on him.
He's so adorable.
I'm just a little confused between bound and free. I get your imagery, but in terms of bringing it in my body, I imagine I'm more affinity for bound flow.
Yeah.
What's the other one called? Free flow?
Free flow, yeah, bound or free. So think of one of them as like uncontrolled, like
more like a feather would be just twirling around, or not? I don't know. It
could be. A feather in the wind could be very free flow, but that's also going to have a lot of lightness. Think of like an ocean wave. That is completely, right? It's going to do its thing. It's free flow. Now, if something is like water going down a drain, is going to be more bound flow. It's contained. So it's, there are many ways of thinking of it. Like, I would say it's got a held tension. Most adults are very bound flow. Anyone who's done Pilates, super bound flow.
Overbound.
It's very, way overbound, like muscle bound, but it's not even muscle bound. It's like, I am controlling every move. And then you could also see like a ballet dancer who is very free flow, right? It's lightness there's other things as well. Like there's lightness, there's ease, different things. But let's say you see a ballet dancer, it just seems effortless. Like it could be very free flow. Like they're not muscling it through.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean,
these are balance pods. I don't know if that would help me find free flow or if it would be bound, because they're
it is. Yeah, actually, it's a great way of thinking about it. So like what you can do, maybe with or without the balance pause, is let yourself go off your center, right?
Okay.
And so that is like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, right? And I want to say also in my explorations, in the movement explorations, when we really go deep into the role play stuff or into the sort of continuum quality stuff, when you don't know where you're going next and it is just arriving, that is free flow. When you're controlling where you go next, because you've pre-thought it out, which is what most people are doing all the time, right? We're predicting our next move. I'm going to move my arm like this, and then it's going to go like that and like that. But if I go, oh, it went over here, if I allow my nervous system that freedom, it becomes very different. Yeah.
That's so helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Mine isn't so much a question. It was just like connecting the dots, I guess. So the uncontrolled movement is aligning with lightness.
Not necessarily. It might be aligned with lightness, but like, yeah. So the sort of affinities and disaffinities are how three of the efforts. Weight is affined with vertical. Space effort is affined with horizontal, and time effort is affined with sagittal. Now, combos can happen in any sort of ways, and some are going to be more common than others. So you could say that they are going to happen that way, but they don't have to. So it's just extra material. Don't worry about the theory, because like for your purposes, just worry about like, oh, is this interesting? Is this interesting? But don't worry about knowing all the reasons why or anything, like, because it's like, that's, yeah.
That's my mind wanting to grab onto things.
But I have to get it.
Right, I have to control this. Darn it.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Otherwise, great stuff. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. But also, Laura, it's like been really therapeutic. I fell in cat puke on the basement steps and slammed my tailbone and slid down the rest.
Oh my
gosh.
Last
week or the week before, I don't remember when, because it's healing really quick from moving in all these dimensions.
That's exactly it. Like bing, bing, bing. And that's what, like, I'm 52. I am pole dancing. I have bruises all over my body from pole dancing, but they heal really fast. And like, if I have an injury, I kind of work with it and I move, right? I don't stop. Oh, I just have to show you this because it's fantastically adorable. It's Princess Lotus Flower, the golden dragon.
Hello.
And she's a Manx cat, her little funny tail.
Oh, yes,
She's
I've
precious
seen her lots
too.
on your pictures.
She's usually in the background. Okay, so let's take this idea back into space and connect it, because eventually it'll be more connected. So here, let me get a couple of them. I have 2 octahedrons, right? So these octahedrons have, in the up and downness is the vertical. These are the outer scaffolding for the dimensional cross of axis. So here's the vertical, side is the horizontal, forward backward is the sagittal. So yeah, so it's just helpful if you have this kind of imagery, right? Like if I'm this way, that's the sagittal, horizontal, vertical, right? Yeah, think of your nose moving forward, backward. And in anatomy, there is like the sagittal plane, the coronal plane, the transverse plane. That's the same thing as the planes, the vertical, the sagittal, the horizontal. So just if you've studied that system, yes. So, but we're working with dimensions. So dimension is like a line, right? Here is a dimension. And this, we could say, is a plane, like a 2-dimensional thing, even though this is really 3-dimensional. And even this is 3-dimensional, right? In the real world, we're just using Laban terms for it. So Laban space isn't like the same as like architectural space. It's the same basic structure, but we're just talking about movement in those places. So here's this is the inner scaffolding of the dimensional cross of axis, up, down, cross, open, backward, forward. So let's just do that because we're going to put the affinities with it first. So if I raise this hand for you, which one, what would you call this? Is this your right hand? Are you, yeah? Okay, so we're going to go up with the right hand, right,
Yes,
up,
that's right.
and then left down. That's it. We'll do it a couple times. Right is going up and left down. Vertical dimension. Now let's see if we can take that up with lightness. Up, light, and take it down with strength. Taking it up with lightness and down with strength. And I immediately want to add time, right? I want to slow it down as I'm going up, but we're trying not to do that. Okay, let's do it on the other side of our body. Taking it up, rising with lightness, descending with strength. Rising with lightness, going up into the air and coming down to the ground with strength. Just an affinity, doesn't have to go this way, but that's the way we're learning it. Up and down. Then we're going to go, so that is using space with effort. And effort is the light weight and the strong weight. Now we're going to go to the space effort and horizontal plane space. So we'll do your right side crossing over, direct, opening out, indirect, taking it all in. Boom, looking right at one thing, very specific, one point. Checking out the whole thing. One more time. Crossing over, direct, opening out, indirect. Let's try it with the other hand. We're going to cross over. And this is also, I have to say, for Benjamin Barry, I hope you get to see this. I hope it's helpful because he asked for some effort stuff. Direct, opening out, indirect, presenting the platter. Here it is. Oh, would you like something from my wonderful tray of goodies? Would you like one thing or would you like a whole bunch of things from the tray of goodies? Good. And let's bring it in and just shake it out for a second. So vertical dimension aligned with, or affined, not aligned, affined affinity with lightness going up and strength coming down. Horizontal dimension affined with directness going across, indirect opening out. So also everyone in TV land and in my Zoom room, if you were learning this in the Laban school, you would spend a whole year learning all this material. You know, you'd spend a lot of time taking it in little bites. And I'm such a maximalist that I throw it at you all together. But you know, for some people that works. Like I feel like I studied the intros for the Laban in 1 week. We did Bartenieff half the day and Laban half the day. And one of my teachers was a BMC person. And I felt that everything I learned in those intros was basically what I learned the whole year in the program. We took it deeper. It was much more integrated, blah, blah, blah. But I learned most of that stuff in those intros. So it's like, it's just deepening and layering and folding in the information. All right, so we're going to go with sagittal, backward, forward in space. And we are going to use, that is big space, geometric space. And that is a find with time, effort, quick to go back, sustain, go forward, quick, and slowing down, sustained effort, and quick time, sustained time. Let's try it on the other side, same thing, taking it back, quick, and moving forward, sustained, back, quick, and forward, sustain, back, and sustain, going forward. Good. Now we're going to put the whole thing together. We'll do it once without effort on each side, or maybe a couple times. So no effort, just the space. So we're imagining you're in that octahedron. You've got a point above you, a point below you, point out to each side, one in front and one in back. So we're going up. We don't need to worry about effort, taking it down. We're crossing over and opening wide. We're taking it backwards and forwards. Yes. Same thing on that side. One more time. Vertical, up, down. Horizontal, crossed, open, sagittal, backwards, and forwards. And let's stick with the same side and see if we can add the efforts. And, you know, I may not do this very well. So don't feel any pressure to be good at it. Just we're playing with it, right? That's the best way to learn something. Play with it, let it be what it is. Taking it up, rising with lightness. Taking it down with strength. Crossing it over, direct. Opening it out, indirect. Taking it behind us, quick. And slowing down, sustain time as we go forward. Yeah, same thing, one more time on that side. So we're going to rise with lightness, lightweight, coming down with strength. Crossing over with direct space, opening out with indirect space. Taking it back, quick, and sustained to go forwards. Right, yep, perfect. All right, let's try it on the other side. No effort first, just the space. Going the vertical dimension, up and down, horizontal, crossing over and opening wide, and sagittal, backwards and forwards. One more time without effort, up and down, crossing over, opening wide, taking it backwards and forwards. Good. Now let's try the efforts. Rising with lightness. Going down with strength. Crossing over, direct. Opening out, indirect, checking it all out. Taking it back, quick. And then moving forward, sustained. Yes, excellent. Again, rising with lightness. Going down with strength. Crossing it over, direct. Opening it out, indirect. Taking it backwards, quick time, and sustained time going forwards. Yeah. So yeah, we're like layering this stuff in, right? It's the lasagna has a little more cheese in it now. And how's it going? How are you feeling it in your bodies? Good? Oh, look at your little dog in its little basket. Okay, any more questions, or should we just keep moving with this? Moving, good. Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's, I really wish I could use music in this, but I can't. So I am not going to, or I could stop the recording for Zoom and I could use music with you guys, and that's what I'm gonna do. So anybody in TV land, if you wanna be in for the whole class, you gotta come to the Zoom room. And everybody, please like and subscribe, support this content on Patreon, and I will stop recording.